going on YouTube? It's your girl Sha, and welcome back to the Shaa'Vaee Show. Y'all, Power Season 6, Episode 8. Without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, we have to get right into it, okay? So it's all over the blogs, all over social media. Tasha ends up popping Keisha, okay? We thought, at least I thought, it was going to be Tommy to take care of the job, but it looks like Tasha beat him to the punch, okay? So her being killed off of the show is kind of heartbreaking, just because, you know, we wanted her to go, but we didn't want her to go. Like, we wanted her character to just stop doing what she was doing, but to actually see that she is gone off of the show, it's kind of heartbreaking. And then the way it happened is just like plot twist for real, okay? When the episode started, as soon as, you know, a couple of the chain of events started happening, I'm like, this is it. This is going to be Keisha's last episode. I called it. As soon as the episode started and we got into, you know, Keisha being in her new house with Tommy and Cash, she having a conversation with Cash about driving him to school and all this other stuff, I said, something in my spirit is telling me that Keisha ain't going to last this entire episode, okay? So let me tell y'all the points of the episode, or the details in the episode, that led me to believe that Keisha probably would not make it through the episode alive, okay? And here are my 5 points that I got. So, the first thing is that Kate tells Keisha about Holly. Finally, right? Because for the past 8 episodes that Kate was in, Kate has been trying to tell Keisha what happened to Holly, but she's always been interrupted, and she doesn't like Keisha, and I think that she's trying to use this Holly situation to scare Keisha away, just because she knows that Keisha is not for Tommy. Not that Keisha is a bad person, or not that she is not a good woman, but she just cannot handle Tommy, his antics, his life, his lifestyle. She just, you know, she does not fit well with him when it comes to that. And Kate knew that from the jump. So I think Kate was kind of trying to save her as well. So the moment that Kate tells Keisha what happened to Holly, something in my spirit just said, okay, Keisha now knows Tommy's deepest secret. So it's either 1, he's gonna fall in love with her more if she stays, or 2, you know what's gonna happen to Keisha once Tommy figures out that she knows. However, things didn't go that way. So that was the first thing. The second was when Sax came by the new house trying to get Keisha to talk, okay? So Keisha's at her new house, she's unpacking her car and taking stuff in or whatever she's doing, and Sax pulls up on her and basically tells her, listen, you need to tell us what you know about Tommy. And if you don't want to come in and tell us what you know about Tommy, I can charge you as an accomplice to Angela's death if and when we convict Tommy for what he did. So Keisha is trying to hold it down, saying, I don't know anything. Sax needs you off of my property. And Sax is just like, Keisha, you need to think about your future, okay? What makes you think that we don't know that this house was bought with drug money? Is this how you want to live your life? So Keisha's just, you know, trying to get Sax off of her property. And so Sax finally leaves. That was the second thing. So I'm like, okay, you just moved into a new house, and now you just having all these visitors. First it was Kate, then it was Sax. Oh, but it gets worse. So the third thing that led me to believe that this would be Keisha's last episode is when Rodriguez pulls Keisha over. So Keisha decides to drive Cash back and forth to school because he no longer lives in a city where people look like him. He's now in a new neighborhood. No one really knows him. It's a lot of white people there, and she doesn't know what their motives are. So she wants to drive Cash back and forth to school. Rodriguez is like, listen, Keisha, you have 2 options. Option 1 is you sign this cooperation form, which means that you agree to give us all the information we need to convict Tommy, or your son is going to be taken away and put in the system. And no, we can't give him to his ex-con father. He's going to have to be in foster care. So obviously, Keisha's going to put Cash before everything. So Keisha ends up signing the form, and instead of them taking Cash, they release Cash, and Cash comes out the car and reunites with his mother. So before Keisha and Cash drive off, Keisha pulls Cash close to her and she's like, don't tell anyone about what just happened, okay? This stays between you and I. Whoo, child, which brings me to my fourth point, okay? So Tommy takes Cash to basketball practice or a basketball game, his basketball game. And this must have been either the same day or the day after, but very close in proximity. Same day, as a matter of fact. So Cash tells Tommy about what happened, although his mother told him not to. His mother was scared, he was scared, and he did what the police asked him to do, and he asked Tommy, did he do anything wrong? So here's the reason why Cash is telling Tommy this. Because earlier that day, Tommy, Keisha, and Cash were having a conversation about how Cash should deal with, interactions with the police, okay? So Tommy tells Cash, listen, you need to do exactly what they say for you, what they ask you to do. But then after it's all over, I want you to come and tell me. And then, I'll deal with it. So this is why I think Cash is really telling Tommy, because at this point, he's starting to look at Tommy as a father figure. And he sees the way he's protecting his mom. And he saw the way his mom was scared. So he just wants to make sure that he did the right thing when he was, encountered a police officer. And it just sucks that it had to happen so soon. So moving along to the fifth one. Tommy gets home and he is livid. So he's asking Keisha how her day was, and she's unpacking, trying to make it seem like the day was just a regular day. So then Tommy gets frustrated, he gets upset because Keisha's lying, and he starts throwing stuff. Not that he throws stuff, but he slams like a box that sounds like glass on the floor, and he's upset. So he's like, what did you tell him? So he's getting in her face, and she's like, I didn't say anything. I held it down. I wouldn't do that to you. And then she mentions that Kate stopped by and told her what he did to Holly. So Tommy's like, oh shoot, now Keisha knows my deepest, darkest secret, okay? So then Tommy's like, oh, and you're still here? And she's like, yes, because I'm not going anywhere. So then she says to Tommy, she's like, and the feds are on us, so why would you put the house in both of our names? Is this your way of trying to get me to have to, take on the rap if something happens to you? If you get locked up, I'm gonna have to pay for all of this. And Tommy's like, Keisha, what are you talking about? The house is already bought. I bought the house already. It's paid off. This is stemming from Keisha's encounter with Rodriguez. So when Rodriguez had pulled Keisha over, she tries to, in order to get her to sign the cooperation form, outside of using Cash as bait, she says to Keisha that Tommy basically put the house in both of their names just in case if he gets caught and then Keisha has to, deal with the expenses on her own. So Rodriguez paints that picture for Keisha, and Keisha's like, in her mind, she's probably like, you really would do that? Like, you think that's really why he put both of our names on it? So now when she finds out that that wasn't the case and that the house is already bought, Keisha's really like, oh my gosh, I really messed up. Tommy still, however, does not know about the cooperation form because Cash didn't tell him, because Cash doesn't know about it, okay? Now, signing that cooperation form was just, it was just no good, okay? So now Keisha she's starting to feel nervous because she knows that Tommy is not trying to play her, okay? He's not trying to make her pay for anything. He bought the house already. He's really trying to prove himself and prove to Keisha that he really loves her and wants to be with her. So Keisha is freaking out now. So she calls Rodriguez and she's like, I can't do this. I'm sorry, we're gonna have to rip that form up. We're gonna have to talk about something else. I lied. I don't have no information on Tommy. I don't know anything. And Rodriguez is like, listen, Keisha, it's too late for that. You said what you said already. You signed the paper. The feds are coming to your house now to pick you and Cash up, so be ready soon. So Keisha's just like, oh, you know what? Cash is at basketball practice or at a basketball game right now. So when he gets home, we'll come to you. Don't come to us, because, I don't want to scare her or anything like that. So Keisha already had bags packed by the door, okay? So my thought is that she was considering running away instead of turning herself into the feds, because obviously this just would not play out well. So she starts putting her stuff away and she gets a knock on the door. And it's Tasha. And Tasha's yelling outside the door. She's like, Keisha, I know you're in there. So Tasha comes in and she's just like, I'm tired of you, Keisha. Keep Tariq's name out your mouth. you talking to the feds, you doing this, that, and the third, whatever the case is. And then Tasha realizes that Keisha has a bunch of bags packed, like she's ready to go somewhere. So Tasha's like, oh, where you going? You going somewhere? Does Tommy know you going? Where you trying to go? So, long story short, Keisha wasn't smart enough to put the cooperation form in her purse. She put the weapon that Tommy gave her to hold for him. She put that in her purse, but she did not put the cooperation form in her purse, and it was just sitting out for everyone to see. So anyone that walked in the house, if you just paid close attention and looked around, you would see the cooperation form. So Tasha was the one to spot it, and she said, oh, now you've gone too far. So she takes Keisha's keys and she's like, you know what, you cannot leave until Tommy gets back because he's gonna handle it. So then one thing leads to another, and Keisha is afraid because she knows that if Tommy finds out, she knows exactly what's going to happen to her. So she's taking her chances with Tasha. So she's looking at her purse. She goes to her purse and she reaches for her weapon. Okay. So now the women are wrestling. And it's to the point where they're not even fighting each other. Like there's no like punches being thrown. They're just wrestling each other. And then before you know it, Tasha gets a hold of the weapon and pops Keisha twice, okay? And before she popped her the second time, she was looking down at her while Keisha is saying, you know, what about cash? You can't do this to me, whatever the case is. And in Tasha's face, I could just see that she's just looking at Keisha like, girl, I don't want to do this to you, but I don't have a choice. Number one, I've been trying to be your friend. I understand I messed up by washing money in your shop without letting you know, and that was a while ago. I've been trying to be your friend since then. I've been trying to warn you about Tommy. I've been trying to warn you about this lifestyle. I've been trying to. And because you wanted to be a part of this lifestyle, I've even helped you. I've helped you. I've gave you some pointers on how to be the woman for Tommy. I've gave you pointers. I've helped you out. And now you're just doing too much. You're becoming too much of a liability. And I cannot have you bring myself down, my son, or my ex-husband. So you have to go. And I'm sorry that it had to be me to do it. And that's just how it ends, okay? Like I said, it broke my heart because the two of them are ex-best friends. And then, you know, Tommy walks in and sees Keisha like that. My heart was broken because it's just like, Tommy can't ever win at love. But then it's like, Tommy, how do you expect to have this type of relationship with someone and you are literally a criminal? Like, forget a criminal, you are a murderer. You are just everything in the book. That's what you are, okay? You are just like most wanted. It is going to be very hard for you to have the type of lifestyle that you want to provide for a woman that you really love when you are so into the street life. It's just nearly impossible, okay? So I don't know what's going to happen next episode. I'm just like, I'm not ready to see Tommy's full reaction. And I feel like in my spirit, I feel like one of the St. Patricks have to go now. With Tasha doing this to Keisha, puts the icing on the cake. So I'm nervous for next episode, y'all. I am very, very nervous. So anyway, that's what happened to Keisha. So now let's move on. Let's see what happened. What else happened in the episode? Because it gets very juicy. So Tariq and Tasha are still in their drug dealing business. But now it seems like they have a new employee. Their first employee, which happens to be Tariq's history teacher at his new prep school. So Tariq does his own investigation and he finds mail at his teacher's desk, and he looks up his last name and realizes that his history teacher's family was caught up in a Ponzi scam. His father is now, the teacher's father is dead, and his mother is doing 30 years in prison. Okay, so Tariq tells Tasha, listen, we had the opportunity to work with someone and I think he could, you know, really help us push the product, and he also, I think, wants, you know, users too. So either way, it's a win-win for us because we're still going to make money. So Tasha's like, you know what, I'm cool with it, but just know that your next move from this point forward is going to be watched. You need to move accordingly. And Tasha also gives Tariq 3 rules. She tells her, if you're going to be a part of this game and we're going to work together, I have 3 rules. No using. no lying, and no stealing. So Tasha has money on her table at the daycare center, and Tariq is there, and she's basically just showing Tariq what she made from her little side hustle, and she has Tariq sign what looks to be like employee papers or just something that shows on paper that Tariq works at the daycare center in case anyone tries to ask about his source of income. So as she's doing this, here comes Grandma, Tasha's mother. Grandma walks in while Tasha is doing this with her son. So Tasha tries to put the money under her desk, and she's a little bit too late because Grandma sees it. So Tariq scurries out really quickly. He has to go get his tuition check from Ghost. So that's his, that's his cue to go. So Grandma is not too pleased, and she's like, how you want to teach your son the game? You lost Raina, you're gonna lose your son. And Tasha's just like, Ma, I already lost him. Like, I'm trying to get my son back. I'm trying to be on his team. I'm trying to save him. And Grandma said, no, can't nobody save him or you but Jesus. I said, you know what? The devil is a lie. You better preach, Grandma. You better preach, Grandma. Grandma was not with it at all. She is not pleased, okay? So, speaking of Tariq going to pick up his tuition check from Ghost, his legal life looks promising until he fails to attend an important meeting with Councilman Tate. So Ramona meets Ghost at his office. I think they're either at Ghost's office or they're at an office at the campaign site. And at the same time, Tariq is there to collect his tuition check from his father. So at this point, Tariq still does not respect Ghost. So we thought that whole little incident that happened when Ghost woke him up with a gat to his head, we thought that Tariq was gonna be a changed man, or was, shake him up a little bit. But it seems like it's the complete opposite. And I think it's because Tariq overheard Ghost and Tasha talking when Ghost said that he's only pretending to do this type of stuff or treating Tariq this way because he wants to scare him so that he doesn't want to be a part of the street life. However, it did not work. Tariq does not respect Ghost. In fact, he refers to his father as Ghost instead of Dad, which I feel is very disrespectful. And in his mouth, he's just very sassy. Ghost, I'm not trying to tell nobody how to parent, but Tariq is a handful, okay? Tariq needs to be popped in the mouth. Every time he gets crazy with you, you need to pop him in the mouth, okay? So anyway, as Ramona walks in, while Tariq and Ghost are having a conversation, Ramona's just so pleased to meet Tariq, and obviously that's because we know Ramona, she got a thing for Ghost, okay? She has a thing for Ghost. And she starts telling Tariq about how special Ghost is and how she wants Ghost to be, part of the political world and run for office. And Tariq is like, but don't you need to do a background check on people before you do that? I said, oh, did you say that? So Ghost is like, oh, okay, here's the check. I need you to go now, because now you're doing too much, okay? Doing too much. But before Tariq leaves, Ramona says, Tariq, your father can be anything he wants to be if he puts his mind to it, just like you. And Tariq is just like, okay, cool story, bro. And then he just walks out. He's like, I don't have time for this. So, as I mentioned before, Ramona is trying to get Ghost to run for office. So she pitches her idea to Councilman Tate while they are backstage at Councilman Tate's debate against his opponent, okay? And Councilman Tate, he technically does not like Ghost, but he knows that having Ghost a part of his campaign keeps his numbers up, okay? So Ghost ends up coming backstage with Derek, and he approaches Councilman Tate, and this is in the middle of Ramona telling Tate that, listen, I think Ghost, you need to add Ghost on your roster as your running mate. So one thing leads to another, and Councilman Tate and Ghost start exchanging words. And he's just very fiery. So Derek is sitting there like, oh, this would be a good opportunity to, you know what? Okay, I'm gonna get you back. So Derek sneaks off, and he hands the sound guy a wad of money to turn on Councilman Tate's mic. So before you know it, Councilman Tate, his mic comes on and he's talking trash about the QC project. He's talking about minorities, and he's just going in on his opponent, just trash talking her without her even being there, okay? So little does he know, everyone in the audience can hear him. And then when he finally realizes it, he's like, oh, y'all heard me? And then he looks up and then he sees Derek in the sound booth and then realizes that Derek set him up, okay? So now Ramona's like, you have to drop out. So they're back in his office. I believe it's later that night. And she's like, you have to drop out because you just made the biggest mistake you could ever make. So he's like, I'm not dropping out. I have an idea. Make sure that since you want Ghost to be a part, my campaign so bad, just make sure he's at a specific meeting. So Councilman Tate set up this meeting where he's gonna invite press. He's gonna take pictures with Ghost, and he's just gonna explain his campaign strategy, or the things that he's gonna do for the city, just to get people more interested or keep people interested in his campaign, because at this point it looks like they're not, okay? Unfortunately, Ghost does not show up for this meeting, thus resulting in Councilman Tate losing funding for all projects, including the Queen's project, the Queen's Child project. So Tate is just fed up with Ghost, and he's just like, you know what, I'm washing my hands with you because you messed up a major deal. We could have been on, and now it's all in shambles because of you. So now let's talk about the reason why Ghost wasn't there, because he's too busy doing illegal activities during his off hours. Okay, so basically Saxe is on administrative leave, but he's still trying to pin Tommy to Angela's death, which is why he popped up on Keisha. He also popped up on Tariq to ask more information about Proctor's death and this, that, and the third. And he's doing all of this, and he's not supposed to be doing it. Tommy and Ghost pay him a visit at his home, okay? They wind up tying him to a chair, putting a bag over his head, and Ghost is like, I need you to tell me everything you know about Tariq. Like, what do the feds know about Tariq? So Saxe is telling him everything that the feds know pertaining to Tariq's case and his involvement with Proctor. And so Saxe tells Ghost, he's like, listen, you can convict Tommy right now. All you have to do is just say that he did it. You know he did it. You were there. You saw him pull a trigger. So Ghost looks at Tommy. Tommy looks at Ghost. And then Ghost looks back at Saxe. And he's like, I don't know what you're talking about. So, playing the whole lawyer thing. Because he knows so much information, Ghost is like, you know what, Tommy? We're not going to do anything to him. Let him go. We're going to let him be on the inside so that we could be in the loop with everything they have on us. So Tommy's not happy about that, of course, because Tommy wants to finish the job, but Ghost ends it. So he's like, Saxe, you owe me a life. So Saxe goes into Warren to let Warren know that Ghost and Tommy came to his apartment. Of course, Warren is not intrigued. He does not believe Saxe, and unfortunately, Saxe is fired, okay? He is relieved of his duty. Bye-bye, Saxe. Okay, so now that Saxe is fired, Rodriguez's hands is getting real deep into the St. Patrick case, the Egan case, and Tariq's case, okay? Which is kind of the St. Patrick's case. Just a little backstory. So after Saxe went to Keisha and Tommy's house, he went to Rodriguez's house and told Rodriguez that Tommy and Keisha have a house, and that basically Keisha's an easy bait. So if she went to Tommy and Keisha's house to question Keisha, she can probably get her to crack, okay? And Rodriguez is like, oh, that's funny because Lakeisha Grant is also a witness in the Raymond Jones case. So Rodriguez ends up meeting with Andre while he and his daughter look like they're in McDonald's or somewhere, and she's coloring. So they meet up, and Rodriguez is like, listen, I need you to tell me what you know about Raymond Jones's death, okay? And Andre is like, I'm not going to tell you nothing. And if I do tell you something, then what do I get in return? And he's like, I want this ankle monitor off me, whatever the case is. So Rodriguez is like, okay, I'll take the ankle monitor off of you. And Andre's like, okay, if I tell you this piece of information, I also want you to take care of Saxe for what he did to me and my daughter. I want him taken care of, and that's that. So Rodriguez is like, deal. So Andre ends up telling Rodriguez that he gave the address to Tariq, and Tariq is the one who pulled the trigger on Raymond Jones. So Rodriguez is like, oh, this is tea, okay? So then she goes to meet up with Ghost, you know, just questioning, because she's sniffing around too, just like Sack, sniffing around. So then before she leaves Ghost's club, she steals his mug where he, you know, his DNA is on it. So she takes his mug and she tests his DNA against evidence from Raymond Jones's, the crime scene from Raymond Jones. So I think they have evidence somewhere, whatever the case is. And there's a drop of blood that was tested from the site. So she tests it. So she brings Ghost's cup in, matches it against the blood that was found at the Raymond Jones crime scene, and it's a 50-50 match with Ghost, and the blood is a 50-50 match with Ghost, which means that 9 times out of 10 it was indeed Tariq who was there, and he may have been the one to pull the trigger. So that is pretty much what happened. Season 6, episode 8 of Power. Oh my gosh, it's like the feds are just narrowing in on Tommy, Ghost, Tasha, and Tariq, and it's like everyone around them just keeps ending up dead besides them. So I don't know, I'm just curious to see what happens. I'm nervous to see the next episode, y'all. So as you already know, thank you so much for rocking with your girl. Be sure to give me a thumbs up, subscribe, comment below, let me know who you think is next to be off of Power. Let me know in the comments below. And I will see you all next time. Thank you again for rocking with your girl.